I like him.
2 secs, mate. Can I just let my dog out?
Of course,
He's
yeah,
whining.
go
Is
ahead.
that all right? Sorry, mate.
No worries.
What?
I
Go on,
might
dog.
not even edit that out. I might just make everyone watch you.
No, because then they'll be sad I didn't get the dog in the.
I am joined by Richy. We are here to talk about some dwarves. It's Arcane Journal time. How are you feeling about
I don't know.
that? Excellent. We did have a discussion about how to start it because my brain went blank, and that was one of the suggestions. So I'm glad that you chucked that one in for us.
Yeah, no worries, mate.
Perfect. So if you see any sweat beading on our faces or mopping of brows, apologies. It is unbelievably warm. It's a whole 13 degrees. We're not used to that in England.
It's unseasonably warm.
Yeah, it's summer and the sun's out. It's disgusting. Anyway, we're here to talk about some dwarves. So who are we and why should you care? This is the sort of thing that you might not have seen this channel before clicking on it. Richy won't say it, so I'm going to. I think, Richy, you're still the most successful dwarf player in the old world. I think that's fair to say. You've actually won an event. You've gone and defeated at 2 or 3 other ones. You've done very well.
So it's been quite difficult with them. Obviously, it's a little bit of an uphill battle, not just because they're short. But yeah, love the faction. They're absolutely great, and hopefully we can show you some stuff that you're going to like too.
Absolutely. All right, perfect. Well, let's just get into it because I'm waffling. So we're going to start off here with the first of the 2 detachments, which is the Royal Clan. So, in fact, very quickly before we go into that, before we talk about how this changes, how are you feeling about dwarves as a faction? Do you feel like they're...
Yeah, I love them. I absolutely love them. They're really fun. You do kind of get boxed into a certain type of play, and there are some armies that kind of really play around you. Some really high magic stuff is an absolute nightmare. Big toughness monsters, all that kind of stuff is just an absolute nightmare. But you kind of got to try and tech into it. It's just really hard to try and tech into it and then fall into other lists. Like anything that's got loads of shooting is going to absolutely outrange you, which sounds stupid being a dwarf because you should be able to be like mass gun line, but it just doesn't happen. Like Empire is going to absolutely smash you. Like every time I play against Empire, I just don't want to get 20-0'd, basically. If I can get to them, I can kill them, but you just can't get to them with such small move. Wood Elves as well are a nightmare. Wood Elves with poison, Pillar of Fire, and a dragon. Run.
I actually think that some of the rules in here do overcome those range issues, though, so that's it'll be interesting to see how you get on in the future. So,
100%.
First of all, Dwarven Mountain Holds Royal Clan. So this is a lot more limited than the Grand Army. There's a lot less in here that you can take, which is quite interesting. Top to bottom, characters, you can have 1+ King or Thane. If you want to live your dreams of having just loads of tooled up dwarf characters that never make it into combat, you can absolutely do that.
Yes.
0 to 1, Anvil of Doom or Rune Lord per 1,000 points. That's fine. I think it's rare that you want to run more than 2 Rune Lords, so yeah, go off. And then Rune Smiths as well. So no engineers in here, which is interesting.
Kind of a little bit sad. I do get it though, because the whole fluff around the royal clans is basically the king of the Karak is kind of marching down with his best mates. He's got all of his best troops. He's got his best mates, and he's just going to go smash some Groby.
Yeah, and he doesn't want any of those weird people who make the things that he hits people with. So
and no black powder weapons, which is an odd choice, but they're traditionalists, and I rate it.
I hadn't noticed that. That's interesting, actually. That's
absolutely 0 black powder. Which isn't too bad. I mean, I don't tend to run too much black powder in my list anyway. So.
No, I like it. It feels thematic. I'm a fan.
Yeah, 100%. It feels like a really old school. Feels like War of the Beard kind of era dwarf, which I really like. I really like that.
Yeah, no, great. Core, 25%. So Royal Clan warriors, Longbeards, and Quarrelers. So no normal warriors, but only the ones that we'll be getting to in a moment. So as you said, no Thunderers in there as well. Special, standard 50%. You can take Hammerers and Dwarf Carts. Obviously, those were teased on Warcom. 2 variants of, which I think is very interesting.
We love the cart.
Yeah, you can't take the minus cart in this one, just Bugman's cart. And then you can take the standard 0-3 War Machines, Bolt Throwers, and Grudge Throwers. Into your rare, you've got Rangers, Iron Breakers, and Iron Drakes. So for me, the big change here is you can't take a squad of Rangers in core. You have to run arguably less efficient core troops. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, the range troops that are going to be in core are a lot less efficient. Obviously, the combat troops in there are a lot more efficient. So I suppose it kind of depends what you want to go for. Obviously, if you are trying to outrange stuff, it is a little bit of an issue, but you can still put them into rare. So maybe chuck more of your core into combat and then do all of your rare shooting potentially.
That's fair. I think I'm just so set in my ways when I'm writing a dwarf list that I go, okay, so I'm starting with 14 rangers. They've got every upgrade and they're 228 points. Moving on from there, what do I fill the rest with? And then there's obviously mercenaries.
After the skirmisher nerf that we had yesterday, having to put them in line now, so maybe it's not too bad that we're going to have to shift away from that slightly.
That's true. I will say, as someone who has played very few games of dwarves, talking to someone who's played every game of every dwarf, I think putting them in a line is the correct way to do it anyway. But we'll not stop and let my uneducated opinion slow us down. Moving on, there are mercenaries as well. You might not be able to use mercenaries, depends on what the event is. If you're playing casually with friends, you probably will. Lots of events don't allow them, but maybe we'll see that down the line. You can take Imperial Dwarves, Doomseekers, and Goblin-hewers. All interesting things that we haven't seen yet. It's just nice to have those in. Anything else interesting in this page? Maybe in a box down below that you want to talk about?
So this is probably actually my favorite part. So I take a BSB in every single one of my lists. Absolutely love the BSB. I think it's vital for dwarves, like 100%, giving them a 5-up ward aura, or giving the +1 combat rares in a massive aura to everything around. So now you don't have to drop it onto your Thane. You can now take it on a runesmith. How amazing is that?
That is very good. I'm a big fan of that.
100%.
Although the only sort of downside to that is it's much harder to get a very tanky runesmith, whereas you can get quite a beefy BSB if you have it as your Thane. But
but what you'd have to do is then put a combat monster in the unit that he's in to be able to take all of the challenges and stuff then, and just hope the runesmith doesn't get killed.
Sounds like a good plan there. All right. So, special rules. What do you get for being Royal Clan? So, first of all, you get Ancestral Fury. Now, this rule makes me genuinely angry. During a turn in which a unit in a Royal Clan army makes a charge move of 3 inches or more, or made a follow-up move, it gains a +1 modifier to its strength characteristic. Games Workshop, are you taking the mick? Oh yeah, if you get your dwarves to charge, they'll get extra strength.
I mean, they did used to have this. This did used to be a thing. And it does really counteract the strength 5. Well, the strength 5 warriors while they're using great weapons. So you can take them up to strength 6, which is handy. I do not think they needed to add the 3 inches. It's not an impact hit, for Christ's sake.
So the addition that they had this in, maybe it wasn't Cavalry Hammer. So that might have been slightly easy to get off, but it's fine. The fact that you can get it from a follow-up move, I think, is genuinely quite good, because if you're stacking combat rares, you can follow up and chase into combat again. But I don't feel like I'm going to be making many charges with my units, I will say that much.
No.
You also get Riches and Heirlooms. Character models may spend an additional 25 points on runes, and units that are able to purchase standard runes may spend an additional 25 points on standard runes, with the exception of a unit in here that's already got it baked in. I feel like they probably should have just not baked it in to make it cleaner, but that's a nitpick. Yeah. It doesn't really matter.
100%. This, for such a little rule, is amazing. Like, honestly, that can add so much into your army, because now it actually makes a king worthwhile taking, because you could give him Rune of Smiting, Rune of Fury, and Rune of Gromril. So suddenly you've got a character that's got 5 attacks, D6 damage and attack, AP2, and then like AP6 with a runesmith in there on a 6. And then with a 2-up save, rerolling 1s. Finally, we'll have a survivable king. Finally.
Yeah. Oh, but there's no ward save. However, could you get around that? Is there a way to...
I've got no idea. I mean, the little guy with the flag behind might be able to give you one of those.
Just casually chucking out a 5-up ward to every model in this unit. Yeah, that seems like it might do the job nicely. But there's
that little runesmith we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely earning their pay there. Striking a grudge after deployment, but before first turn begins, nominate a single enemy character. All friendly units gain hatred against that character, and you get a bonus 75 points if that character is slain, has fled the battlefield, or is fleeing at game end. How do you feel about this rule?
So I like this and dislike it at the same time. because realistically, you're going to want to put your king or thane's unit into that, which already has hatred against heroes, which is kind of baked into that.
Okay.
So, like, potentially, like I don't know. I just don't see how that's good. Plus, you're going to pick an enemy model at the beginning of the game. They're going to go cool. So that's worth almost five. Say if it's a dragon, you pick a dragon, and they're going to go right. So that's 480 points plus another 75. How about I just kill all of your artillery and run away?
The classic thing to do against dwarves. Yes, that is.
Yeah, like
That is
I just like I love the Royal Clan. I'm probably going to start playing the Royal Clan just because I really like it thematically. But I don't know. You're better off picking like just a little wizard or something, aren't you? Like you're not going to pick their general, I don't think.
I think what I like about this is you can try. I think it's worse against good
Mind
players.
games.
Yeah. So if you're playing, if you're playing against worse players, you can try and bait them into not sending their full kitted out lord on dragon into you because you get rerolls against it. Realistically, that doesn't actually skew the maths much. It's rerolls to wound that you'd really need, but yeah, it's fine. I think it's a bad rule that is made a little better by the edition we're in, where there are big characters riding monsters. So yeah, it's something. It's a rule that's there. So
Yeah,
not.
I mean, it could be clutch. I don't know. Like potentially, I'll have to write some more lists. In
Yeah.
the list that I've written, that's going to be an example in a little bit. I don't. It's just a useless rule, to be perfectly honest. But it could be good in some circumstances. I suppose the reroll on hammerers that don't have a hero in them could be quite nice.
True. But of course, you are going to put a hero in there so you can do your challenge shenanigans.
Yes.
All right. Well, moving on then. The second detachment here that we've got is the Expeditionary Force, and this is the one that I'm more excited about. I am a lover of guns. How do you feel about this one, sort of at face value?
Yeah, no, I do really like it. I don't think it has some of the upgrades that people are kind of hoping for, but it does have some nice, fun stuff that you can do. And it's kind of stuff that's kind of a little bit out of the box that I'm sure people didn't think you were going to be able to get from it. And also just gyro spamming is always fun. So.
I mean, I've been talking to you about that, and you're telling me that I'm wrong. But I am wanting to push that to an
I
extreme.
will happily play against as many gyros as you can throw at me.
Absolutely, we'll have to do that at some point. So this has got quite a few more data sheets in than the first one that we looked at. Characters you can run 1+ engineer or engineer sapper, so no cap on that other than any match play rules you might be limited by. 0-1 demon slayer or dragon slayer, and then thanes and runesmiths. No kings in this one, which is fine. I think if you're running this sort of list, you probably don't want a king anyway.
I don't usually run them anyway, to be honest.
That's fair. Core 25% is dwarf warriors, thunderers, and dwarf carts. You can take carts in core. That's interesting because core is definitely where I want to not have to spend my points. So getting the things that I want in there is good. You can take 0-1 unit of rangers per 1,000 points, so you can run 2 units of rangers in core, which is very nice. And then 0-1 units of scout gyrocopters per 1,000 points. So you can, at a 2,000 point game, take 2 units of scout gyrocopters, which is something. I don't know how I feel about that. It needs testing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the lower toughness that they have, which we'll get to in a bit, I don't know how good they're going to be. Could be amazing. We don't know. No, I haven't personally played a game with them, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. Special, we've got with the miners, scout gyrocopters outside of your core, and then the regular gyrocopters, 0-3 war machines, all of the usuals one there, bolt thrower, growth thrower, and cannon. And then rare, up to 33% you can take as gyro bombers, 0-1 unit of slayers, and then 0-2 war machines per 1,000 points in the organ gun and flame cannon.
So, just quickly, there's something that's not there. I don't know if you've noticed.
I have, and it makes me really, really sad.
Yeah, so no Iron Drakes, which are the best unit in the army. So I don't think people will take this just because of the loss of Iron Drakes, I think
that's fair. I am interested in playing it from sort of a throw lots of mid-strength, moderate AP attacks at a wall, see if it sticks. But I don't know if that's going to be enough. So I'm definitely going to be testing this one, but I'm not sure it's something I'll play long term.
So I played against a really interesting dwarf list at a tournament that I played in Cardiff recently. The really nice guy, and he ran a horde dwarf list. So nothing was upgraded, nothing had banners, there was no hit, there was no upgrades, nothing. The only thing he had was an anvil as a hero and two engineers, and then it was just stuff
Yeah.
everywhere, like min units as well, like loads of min units, just all the cannons, all the grudge throwers. And I think that's potentially going to be a way to play this. I don't know how effective it's going to be, but I think MSU could work really well for this, actually.
Interesting. Unfortunately, can't take an anvil in here, which is a bit of
No,
a...
no, yeah, I know. But you do get Burlock.
That is true. We will get to him. And then there's another box here. You can take an engineer as a BSB, which is nice. I think in this case, there's not really much in the way of offensive buffs for shooting in the standard runes from the top of my head, is there? Flaming attack, maybe?
So with the new runes that you can take for engineering runes, those only affect shooting. So you can put them onto crossbow weapons and onto handguns. So they're quite good. We're going to get to them in a second. So those are exclusively for shooting. Damage buff wise for war machines, I mean, really all you can do is just flaming. And then for the bolt throwers, obviously you can get the no armor saves and strength 7, which is actually really good.
Yes. But I mean, for the battle standard bearer, I don't think there's anything that you could put on the BSB to go in a unit of quarrelers, for example, that would upgrade them.
Oh, as the standard runes.
Yeah.
No.
That's fine.
But he does give them reroll ones, so
cool.
That could be good.
Yeah. All right. So what special rules do you get? So first of all, Expeditionary Marksman. 0 to 1 unit of Thunderers per 1,000 points. Feels a little rough that it's only 1 unit per 1,000, but if you pay a point, you can get the Expeditionary Marksman rule on the Thunderers. You don't get any negative to hit modifiers for moving and shooting, and you can also upgrade an engineer for 10 points. Now, when I read that, I was like, wow, I'm going to have, I'm going to move around and I'm going to be shooting, hitting on 4s. And then you pointed out that you still have the Ponderous -1 to hit, which is not ideal.
No, kind of burst your bubble there, mate.
Yeah, because they're ballistic skill 3, so I don't want to move them if I'm taking any modifiers to hit. That's, yeah, it's fine. They're fine, I think, is the best I can say there. I really like it on the engineers, though, depending on how you've kitted them out. Being able to move and shoot without penalty is, makes
especially, there's a tasty little combo that you can do, and we'll talk about that in a bit.
Absolutely. Function over form. When writing a muster list, you may reduce the toughness characteristic of any of the following war machines by 1, and then you get... you lose the move and shoot rule. My brain turned off there. So basically, you go down to... Are they all toughness 7, am I right in thinking?
Not all of them. So the bolt throwers are a lower toughness, but the grudge thrower and... So the grudge thrower, the organ gun are toughness 7. The cannon potentially might be as well, but the bolt thrower is lower.
Yeah, it's only the cannon, the organ gun, and the flame cannon that you upgrade. So I think all 3 of those are toughness 7.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm not even looking at the page.
That's all right. So toughness 7 is an interesting breakpoint because I think it going down from toughness 7 to toughness 6 doesn't matter at all because
not at all.
The volume shooting that's coming at you is typically strength 4 or lower, and the cannons or growth throwers that hit you are strength... Well, I guess strength 8, so you might be wounded on 2s instead of 3s, but I think
the only thing that you're going to be worried about really is Empire Cannonade, and that's wounding Euro 2 no matter what you're doing. So
there we go. Yeah. Why even worry about it? Perfect. And then there's the fun rule as well, the Subterranean Ambush.
Yes, love this one.
I really like this, yeah. If your army includes a unit of miners, you may, after both sides have deployed, but before the first turn of the game begins, deploy 2 32mm round mine markers plus 1 additional marker for each additional unit of miners your army includes. So basically, if you've got any miners, put 2 markers down. If you've got 2 units, put 3 markers down. If you've got 3 units, put 4, and so on and so forth. They can be deployed anywhere that's not in your opponent's deployment zone, within 12 inches of another marker, within 6 inches of an enemy unit from where they've deployed, or within 3 inches of a special feature or an objective marker. An objective marker? That's an interesting bit of wording there, isn't it?
I know, it's almost like there might be something coming out soon.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? I'm sure that the game's just going to stay the same as it always has been. There'll be no changes. Don't worry about that. But back to the miners. When a unit of miners would arrive, so from your reserves, keep in mind that they have an upgrade that they can take to re-roll the die to come in from reserves. It can come in anywhere within 6 inches of a mine marker, but not within 6 inches of an enemy unit. Can't charge this turn, and it counts as having moved for shooting, but can otherwise move. Act as normal, which means it can move after it comes in.
But it doesn't matter about the moving and shooting, though, because their satchels have got quick shot anyway.
Very good. Yeah, perfect. Can't argue with it. I really like this.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Because coming in from a board edge when you have a 3-inch move is so soul destroying. Coming in the middle of the board, great. Really like that.
So it's even worse on Mountain Pass because you can only come in from the back edge.
God, yeah. No, I really like this. I think this is a fantastic roll. I only put 1 unit of these in the list that I wrote, but I could see playing around with 3 units and maybe not even putting them all in reserve, but just having that option, because you get the markers for having additional. So you could have 1 unit in reserve if you're worried about getting rushed down, for example, and you could put down 4 markers, and then your opponent has to really think about where they're going, because you're just like, yeah, I've covered every possibility. What you're going to do? You're going to get flank charge on turn 3. That's what you're going to get done.
Yeah. Well, I've actually got one of my mates printing off a load of these for me, just so I can make an Expeditionary Force with a buttload of miners in. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I really like them. I think they're a very fun unit, and I liked them before we got additional rules for them, and now I think you've just got to play them.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I was kind of in an RN because the way the meta's going, obviously with like the gun lines, they're really good, and now you can just put them anywhere. So you could just be like, well, I'm going to put a massive line of markers all across the front. I'm going to get you. Like, it's just good.
I love it. All right, let's move on to the unit. So first of all, we've got the Big King, Thorgrim, and I'm not going to try and read the rest because I will butcher it. So Thorgrim is, interestingly, a Thane, not a king. That's
he's only young, isn't he? This is Bubba Thorgrim.
Sure, but he's a 250-point character. Normally, that would take up like a Lord level slot if you go by sort of, Warhammer Fantasy Battle terminology. So I think it's interesting.
He is leadership 10, though, I suppose.
Yeah. In my eye, he's 3 wounds. That's a Lord level character. So yeah, I like it. No complaints. This is a buff to dwarves where God, they need him.
I know. I think he's really good. I'm gonna say my negative at the beginning, and then I'm gonna say I love everything else. The fact he's not on a shield is really disappointing.
Yeah, I would love to see 6 wounds Thorgrim.
Yeah, and potentially a better armor save as well, but that's just nitpicking. The rest of it's amazing. I love it.
What armor save does he have? Because he's got the armor of Skaldor and shield, so he's got a 4-up armor save. I guess he's got a 4-up ward as well.
Well, he's only got a 4-up ward against killing blow and multiple wounds.
Yeah, that's okay.
But he's always going to have a 5-up ward from the banner, isn't he? So don't worry about that.
That's true. That is true. Yes, we'll just build that one in. So pretty beefy. So only weapon skill 6, so lower than you might see from a king. That's, I guess, where the difference comes in. Strength 4, toughness 5, 3 wounds, initiative 3. That's not bad for a dwarf. 3 attacks. Leadership 10, as you said before. Has a grudge law. So once he has set the grudge stone down, he and the unit he has joined replace hatred orcs and goblins with hatred all enemies. This is nice. Can't argue with that. Yeah. Grudge stone. During any start of turn subphase, he may set the grudge stone. They become unbreakable, automatically pass any panic tests. However, once they've been set, they can't flee, can't move other than to give ground, and they can't follow up or reform. That's a lot of negatives there, but it's a hell of an anvil.
It is a lot of negatives, and the only way that I can see you setting that grudge stone down is if there's enemies all around you and you're getting charged by everything. You're like, right, this guy needs to hold the door, and just drop him down right in the middle of the army and just hope that it can kind of weather the storm while the rest of your units come in and kind of do stuff.
Yeah, I think that's probably quite valuable, honestly. So I can see using that. And it's only 250 points, so as a beat stick character. Problem is, he does only have 3 wounds and slightly dodgy defensive stats, so you maybe he gets killed. Maybe that's the...
I think the only way that you can run him is in a unit of hammerers. So put him in with the hammerers, so they're always going to accept challenges, so no one can challenge him out. As soon as you get close to a dragon, so run your hammers in the middle, a unit of those like new warriors on either side, the new clans warriors, get them either side. They charge into the dragon, or the dragon charges into them, 100% probably. He chucks down the Oath Stone, so they're stuck, and they stuck in a challenge, and then literally the 2 units come in. That's the only play that I can kind of see that work in, I think.
Okay, that's fair. So then we've got the Armor of Skeldor. So that is, as we talked about before, heavy armor. So you've got a 4-up save, including the shield that he comes equipped with. 4-up ward against Killing Blow or against any multiple wound rules. So that's
Well,
odd.
you are forgetting it is Bromril though, so it's 4-up rerolling ones. So
That's true.
If it works a quarter of the time, 100% of the time.
I feel like that's one of those rules that, as the dwarf player, like, whatever, it's a rule that's there that slows me down. And then when you play against it, you're like, this is so frustrating. I thought I did 5 wounds, I did 2, I want to cry.
It's like Magic Resist 1, isn't it? You think it's rubbish until you play against it, and you're like, ah!
Absolutely. Makes a big difference. It does have in one of his angry fists the Grudge Settler. So strength +2, take him up to strength 6, AP 1, armor bane 1, magical attacks, and then also the Master Rune of Smiting and the Rune of Parrying. Now, can you tell us what those two do?
Right, so this is the true kind of where he kind of makes his points back up. So you wouldn't be able to take the Rune of Smiting and another rune on a Thane level character. So the fact he's only around 250, so the Rune of Smiting by itself is 75 points. What that is it does D6 damage for each one of his attacks. So if he does manage to hit a monster, he's probably going to do quite a bit of damage to it. And then the Rune of Parrying is -1 to hit as well. I would have liked to have seen him being weapon skill 7 though. So it means that kind of most beefy characters are still going to be hitting him on 4s. Which is a little bit of a shame. But with those two things baked into his profile, he is actually really cheap when you kind of break it down points-wise, I think.
That is true. That is true. All right, so a character with maybe some flaws, but quite a lot of upsides. So
yeah, I'm definitely going to take him. I love it. I think it can work really well. Plus, it's Thorgrim, so if you're a dwarf lover, you're going to take him 100%. Yeah. Maybe legally. Not to the most competitive. Yes, maybe not to the most competitive tournaments, but I think definitely with games with your mates, he's going to be a really fun one to play with.
Perfect. All right. Speaking of other classic characters, we've got Ungrim Iron Fist, the Slayer King.
Yes.
So, look at that stat line. What's the first thing you want to tell me? Because there are 2 stats on there that are wild.
I tell you what, you can do the stats because I've got something that's even more important that I want to talk about.
First of all, weapon skill 9. What? Only beaten by a Bloodthirster with, I think, weapon skill 10. Everything else caps out, I think, weapon skill 7 on the base sheet. So that's pretty wild. And then also toughness 6.
Sure. Okay, mad. Yeah. Absolutely mad.
All right, what is it you want to point out?
So, we've been waiting for this for so long. We've finally got Monster Slayer, baby!
Whoop, whoop!
Yes!
Of course, you are on a movement 3 character, so I don't want to,
Yeah, but if you put your entire army in one unit, they got to come get you.
That is true. That is a valid strategy. I respect what you're saying there. So, there is a long list of rules here. So, first of all, got the Actor Dargo, the Slayer Crown, and Light Armor. That actually means this is a Slayer who has a 4-up armor save and a 5-up ward, which is pretty cool. Big fan of that. So, other rules, Death Blow, Brummel Armor, so you're rerolling those ones. Hatred, Orcs and Goblins, Immune to Psychology, King of the Slayer Old, Magic Resist 2, Rallying Cry, Resolute Slayer, and Unbreakable. So a good mixed bag there. It does a little bit of everything. Before we go into the special, the unit-specific special rules, anything there that you think is particularly noteworthy that you want to point out?
Right, so obviously in the FAQ, the Death Blow is actually going to be his strength as well, so it is a strength 4 Death Blow rather than a strength 3, which is pretty handy. That's nice. With the magical attacks, you're not going to be able to stop him with Banshees or anything like that, which is good. The strength +2, so he's going to be strength 6 with Monster Slayer, which is pretty handy. 4 attacks would have been nice to see him with 5 maybe, just because he is the Slayer King, but I love pretty much everything. So yeah, with the armor, amazing. He's so much tankier than I thought he was going to be, which is good because he hasn't got his dragon cloak yet, has he, in the lore? So it'd be interesting to see if they do add those rules in the future. Maybe, I don't know.
Old World 2nd edition, maybe.
Yeah, potentially. The Unbreakable's nice. Obviously, he was going to have that as a Slayer anyway, but it is just nice to see that they haven't just missed that off, so it is weirdly unusable. You know what GW's like sometimes.
Something that I've literally just noticed is obviously his axe is not actually a great weapon. It's a magic weapon with +2 strength and extra AP, which is great. And Monster Slayer as well. Very nice. He's initiative 5. That's fast. That's I'm a big fan of that. So what that means is if you're in a protracted combat for whatever reason, you're going to be striking before whatever monster you're fighting. So that's an extra level of, don't know if I want to charge with my dragon.
Plus, he can actually get to initiative 8 if he ever charges.
If. Well, to be fair, single characters like this are the things that you might see charging in a dwarf army. So that is actually noteworthy. And then you fight into some sort of elf with strikes first and you get sad. But let's not worry about that. So... King of the Slayerhold may join a unit of hammerers or slayers, even though he does not have the loner special rule. A unit of hammerers joined by Ungrim gains the immune to psychology and unbreakable special rules for as long as he remains with the unit. In addition, if he's taken as the general of a royal clan-specific army, you can take demon slayers and dragon slayers as characters, 0 to 1 slayers per 1,000 points as core, 0 to 4 doom seekers per 1,000 points as special.
So that's actually brilliant. I really, really like the unbreakable hammerers. I tend to not really take hammerers. I dunk on them all the time, just because they're quite expensive. But I think with Ungrin in them as well, and some of the movement shenanigans that you can do of the cart, I think we could actually make that really good now. I think.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think hammers are really good, especially if you're playing a style where you're not sitting back and letting them come to you. If you're bristling up and sort of running into the middle of the board and you're less worried about someone getting behind you to kill your war machines, I think hammers have more value because if they want the points, they've got to kill the units.
Yeah, 100%. I think if we're getting into the kind of lists where you're just throwing units across the board, like using the anvil to double move, using the cart to give them the plus, and every turn you're throwing one unit up, then the next unit up, I think they've got a place. I'd be quite. I might have to try some, which is good because I've got 35 of the little buggers painted.
Perfect. I'm interested to see them do well. And the sort of Slayer army that was teased in the initial Warcom article 3 months ago, and then they've not actually written. This is like a stealth Slayer army, so I'm a big fan of that. Because I don't personally think it should have been one of the two. I don't think Slayers are interesting or well-rounded enough for that. But this gives you like a secret third Arcane Journal army, which is fantastic. Really
we love a little stealth army, don't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, you mean I can run completely different stuff? Job's a good one. And then the third character. So we've had one for the royal clan there, but now we've got Burlock Damison. I think it is. Yeah, Burlock Damison. It's an engineer. You can only take it in anything that has an engineer. All right, that's nice and simple. 85 points. So this is a weird character. First of all, if anyone is aware of Overwatch, the video game, this feels like a straight rip of the character from their Chorborn, because you've got a hammer, which is like a forge hammer. You've got a rivet gun, and you fortify or you build things. So this feels like a straight just 1-to-1 rip. I'm not sure how I feel about that one.
I'm just slightly disappointed he doesn't have his metal arm.
Yeah.
Where's his metal arm gone? Obviously, he hasn't got that in the timeline yet, but.
Yeah, that is fair. I mean, there's plenty of hobby conversion opportunity there, I guess you can go with. Oh, so, 100%. This is an engineer for 85 points with leadership 10, so a nice little leadership bubble there if you want to go for it. Prepared positions, you can entrench a single non-character model whose troop type is Warp Machine and a single unit of Quarrelers or Thunderers. So you get partial cover, defending a low linear obstacle, and if they move, they lose the entrench. So this gives you, I think normal engineers can entrench just a war machine. This gives it to the Quarrelers as well, basically.
Yeah. So that does kind of, I know obviously Fanatics have been nerfed already, but this does also nerf Fanatics as well. So if you're behind a low linear obstacle and they're kind of flying into you, then they die.
Perfect. That is pretty nice. You've got range finding optics. If you're not fleeing or engaged in combat once per turn during the shooting phase, a friendly unit of Quarrelers, Thunderers, or a War Machine within range can reroll any hit rolls of a 1 or reroll a single artillery dice. And you also don't get the -1 to hit for shooting at long range with his unit, which is nice, but...
Ooh. What's that on? Is that on Thunderers as well?
It's on any unit he joins, so you could even put him in ranges, but he wouldn't be able to reroll 1s to hit on that squad.
So put him in the Thunderers, give the Thunderers the ability to move and shoot,
Mm.
Then suddenly they don't get the minus for moving and shoot. They do get the minus for moving and shooting, don't they?
They get ponderous, basically.
Yeah, they get ponderous, but they don't get the minus for long range. So suddenly you're moving and shooting, hitting on 4s.
5s, because you're only ballistic skill 3.
No, I think it's only -1 with the handguns.
Sure, but you'd be hitting on 4s natively, then you're -1 to 5s.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Ignore me,
I had
ignore
the
me.
exact same thought. I read the rule. I was like, it gives you +1 ballistic skill. No, it costs you +1 point.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of his. I was like, oh, that's a bit. Yeah, I did exactly what you did earlier.
What I like though is you might want to put it in a unit of quarrelers that you don't forward deploy and you just put in your deployment zone, because they're hitting hitting on 3s anyway. So just having a unit that can sit in a hill and hit in 3s, or can go with the Iron Drakes, take away the penalty for that. Obviously, he doesn't get his other buffs into those units, and you might want to keep him near a war machine to get the buff there.
You can't put him in Iron Drakes.
Why not?
Because you can only take him in the Engineer skill.
No. You can take him in any Dwarf Mountain Holds army. So
Really?
you could take him in general.
Oh, can you? I thought you could only take him in the Engineers.
I was looking at his rules like, God, what have I missed? But yeah, so I think there's some interesting play patterns to open up there. I really like him a unit of like 8x2 Rangers sat on a hill next to some war machines. I think that is where he sort of shines. That's my expectation anyway. There's also Stand Back Chief. Can't be targeted by shooting or enemy spells within 3 inches of a war machine. Cool.
Yeah, pretty standard for an engineer, really. Good though.
Yeah, it's better than the regular Lookout Sir or Lone Character rules, because it's just if you're within 3 inches of a war machine, you can't be targeted at all. You don't also have to be further away, which is nice.
Cannonballs can't even ping you either, which is quite nice.
Job's good. Then equipped with the Furnace Hammer. Now, I like the idea of this. I hate the execution. So you've got 3 attacks on your profile, your weapon skill 5, and it is a strength artillery die, flaming attack AP2. You get to make 3 attacks with it. But if you roll a misfire, not only do you lose all of your attacks, you lose a single wound. That is not okay. Why is that?
You know, 100% all that you're going to roll is a 2, 2, and a misfire. Every time.
It's grim. The he can't even re-roll the artillery die on himself. If it was just no, that's just sad. Yeah, it's whatever. Like if the strength was still tied to AP in Old World, it might be interesting, because you're like, oh, if I roll like an 8 or a 10, I'm stripping away all of the save on this mega character, and I'm going to do something here. But just, maybe I wound the dragon on 2s, and then I drop it to a 4-up save, and it gets the 5-up ward and the 5-up regen. It's whatever. Speaking of disappointments, the Rivet Gun. So, Rivet Gun, 10-inch range, strength 3, AP2, armor being 1. What is this for? Why is this here?
It's for goblins. That's what it's for.
If it hits, it does D3 hits. So this is like the better multiple shots. So you don't take -1, but if you get the hit, you get multiple hits. I don't love that.
Wait, what about? It's amazing.
Sure. I mean, it's fun, but I want to put him with some rangers on a hill at the back of the board, and he's got a 10-inch gun. I don't care that he doesn't take long-range penalties. He's not going to be shooting anything. Anyway, how do you feel about this one before we quickly move on?
So it's very... I don't know. They've almost tried to make the dwarves even fluffier than they were before. Like I do like some of the rules that they put into the new dwarf heroes. Like I really like the range finding optics. I really like the prepared positions. I think there's going to be some really good plays with that. Like you said, getting the rerolls on a hill is going to be really nice. The getting the linear obstacle in front of them to stop fanatics is going to be really, really good as well. So you could push a front line up, just kind of chill there. If you're playing against goblins, that's actually really good. I think that's a really good play. But yeah, his gun's terrible, isn't it? And if he gets into combat, your opponent's just going to laugh at you.
Yeah. It's one of those where when you play against it, your opponent's going to roll strength 10, and when you're playing as it, you're going to misfire.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
All right, we can move on then. So we've got the Dwarf Engineer Sappers. So 70 points for an engineer. The engineer doesn't give the reroll protection for artillery.
I know.
It's 20 points more than a normal engineer, and it doesn't do the thing I want an engineer to do. let's talk about it very quickly because it does have some interesting rules. So you've got the standard upgrades there. Great weapon. Can a normal engineer take great weapon? I think it's just
They can. Yeah,
the straight same upgrades there. So you get the things that you actually get are dig in. During any command phase, you can take a leadership test on your leadership of 9, so you're probably going to pass it. If the test is passed, this character and any unit they have joined become entrenched. An entrenched unit is considered to be behind partial cover and defending a low linear obstacle. If they move, it's no longer entrenched.
So it's exactly the same rule as Burlock as well. So I suppose with that you
Burlock's
could have
is deployment zone, deployment phase only. This is in the command phase.
Oh yeah, but obviously once you've got like a couple of sappers as well, then you could have 3 of your units or 2 of your units that have the same effect on them.
Sure.
Which could be quite nice. Depends what you're playing against. I mean, if you're playing against like Wood Elf shooting spam or anything that's kind of shooting at you, getting the extra -1 to hits can be quite nice, actually.
Yeah, that's true. And then hostile terrain, an enemy unit that ends its movement within command range of one or more characters with special rule must make a dangerous terrain test. So it's for each model within 8. I mean, this is fun. I like the idea of leaving little minefields for them, but I don't think I'm super bothered by it unless, chariots become the meta.
So I'm a little bit disappointed with this. I think if it was units are treated as if they're in dangerous terrain, I think that would be much better.
That would be disgusting.
Yeah, 100%. Like that would be absolutely brilliant. This rule, I mean, it's only going to be good against chariots if you roll lots of 1s.
Yeah, I think we can move on here. It's a unit that exists. The Doomseeker. Now, this one I'm actually quite excited by. I think it's very fun. So it's the not quite fanatic, but kind of fanatic. 50-point character, only moves 3 inches, but it has sort of semi-swift stride. We've got first the Fray, which is plus 3 inches to your charge range and plus D3 to the charge roll. So it's not as reliable as a swift stride roll, but it's still, 12-inch declarable charge instead of 9-inch, which is nice. And it is strength 5, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 3, 2d3 attacks, and you can buy up to 50 points of weapon runes, which is good because it only has hand weapon. So the way that it works is it is a Slayer that has impact hits, D3 plus 1 impact hits, that use your weapon profile. So if you've given it some AP, for example, you might have AP 2 if you pay for a couple of runes to give you extra AP there. D3 plus 1 impact hits, your initiative 3, so you're going to be at initiative 6 on the charge because you need to be charging with this unit. I think it's an interesting little blender that you can sort of just put next to your units and go, you've activated my trap card. You've charged me, the one thing that I wanted you to do. Now I get to flank you with a stupid man.
Yes, I think they're really fun. Like we were talking about these earlier, and I think the way to play these is definitely just tool them up, give them as many upgrades as possible. So you can take 3 of them unless you're playing open play, I suppose. So take 3 of these, upgrade them as fully done. So that's 300 points. Just throw them at the enemy, and then when they kill them, they don't get any points.
Yes, that's the Doomseeker special rule. So if it's alive at the end of the battle, your opponent gets victory points for it. If it's dead, they get no victory points for it. So that's an interesting little bit of points to nail there. I do like that. And then the Whirlwind of Death, that just says you can, when you wound, you're always wounded on a 4+, and also your impact hits are done at the profile of the hand weapon that you've equipped with magic runes there. You can take them as dogs of war for dwarves and empires outside of, any army that can take them anyway. So nice to have there.
I think they're going to be really good in an Empire army. Can you imagine a couple of these guarding some bloody cannons?
It's a good job that most events don't allow mercenaries. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, I know. That's going to make it even worse. You get near them and then suddenly there's Doomseekers running at you. You're like, God.
That Empire army that's been smashing you, you turn up and they're like, hey, I'm also playing dwarves. I've got 2 of these. Sucks to be you. I've got an Empire army plus dwarves.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, do you know what these would be really good into? Dwarves, actually.
Oh, that's so grim. Moving on, we've got the Royal Clan Warriors. So this is the Royal Host version of the warrior unit. So I want you to take the lead on this one because I'll be honest, I look at these and I see normal warriors. I need you to tell me what's different about them.
Right, so I love these guys and hate them at the same. No, I'm only joking. I love them. So basically, these guys. So they're only a little bit more expensive than a normal warrior. So they're only 10 points a model more. They're only 10 points a model, which is pretty good. So their weapon skill 4, which is kind of standard for a dwarf. they're strength 3, which is the same as a warrior, but there is a difference. So they have heavy armor, which is Gromril. So suddenly you've got a 5-up save that's rerolling 1s, which is pretty handy.
Mhm.
They come with hand weapon and shield as stock. So if you're going to keep them with that, it's a 4-up save rerolling 1s. But you've also got Gromwheel weapons as well, which they didn't have before. So you're going to be getting the AP, which is pretty handy. But they're only strength 3. So what you're going to do when they're only strength 3, you're going to take the great weapon option, which is an extra point per model. But what that does is it's Gromwheel Great Axe. So it's strength +2, so it's strength 5. AP 3. How good is that? And because it's Gromwheel, like it's just amazing, isn't it? So it requires 2 hands, and it is strike last, unfortunately. So it's not going to get any of that hammer shenanigans. But I really like it. Plus, you got to remember as well with the Royal Clans list, if you can charge, you're going to be +1 strength. So you could be strength 6 with these boys.
Yeah, this is interesting. So you get Grommel weapons and Grommel armor for effectively +1 point over a normal warrior, because a normal warrior is 8 points. These are 10, but you get the shields for.
And go. Right, so the other things that these guys can do, so you can upgrade them to be drilled, you can upgrade them to be veteran, and I really, really would suggest doing veteran just in case you're playing against anything that does leadership debuff shenanigans or makes you roll leadership tests. It's a really, really good upgrade. Not many people try and do it, but I would honestly suggest doing it. Now, the most interesting thing I think that you can give this unit is stubborn.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing, because you're not going to be taking the hand weapon shield unless you're going to run a couple of support units. So you're going to lose shield wall, but stubborn is brilliant. Because the tactic behind these is going to be you create either a Death Star or some kind of like mini little Death Stars. You're running up the board. The enemy's going to slam into you. You pop your stubborn, so you fall back a little bit. And then hopefully you can push in your turn, charge them, and then you get the +1 strength. So suddenly you're at strength 6 with the big axes, AP3, and try and do some damage.
I forgot about that. Yeah. You know what? I actually, and I don't know if this is right, but I want to try these with just hand weapons and shield and run them as sort of budget iron breakers. I think that's really interesting. What are you going to give them? You'd give them drilled, you'd give them stubborn, so you're looking at 13 points a model, but you're still strength 4 if you get the charge off or if you follow up. So you can stack your combat res in there. You've got your strength 4 potentially AP1 attacks if you're getting that +1 strength from the Royal Host. I think that's interesting.
And obviously if you're running the anvil as well, you can turn them into better iron breakers, really, I suppose.
Cheaper, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I like it. I do like the Grommel Great Axe, though. AP3 is just so disgusting.
I know, it's so good, isn't it?
Beefy. All right, so moving on, we have got the Imperial Dwarf Mercenaries. Apologies for cutting off the top of that there. These are heavy infantry, 8 points a model. So these are, am I right in thinking these are basically just if you want to take Dwarf Warriors and or Quarrelers and or Thunderers outside of playing Dwarves?
Yeah, so basically the lore behind these guys is these are dwarves that have kind of wandered down into the Empire. They don't actually live in any of the Carracks anymore. So these are just dwarves that fight for men, fight for beer. So they're just kind of happy to fight in any kind of Empire army. Well, any kind of good army, I suppose, but they're usually in the Empire. There's actually some really good models for these that Highland Miniatures do, which are dwarf spearmen with Empire costumes on, which is really cool.
Nice. That is the one thing, I guess, that because everything else you can kind of take these as like a regular unit. There's no sort of upgrade over warriors or one of the other core units, but the spears, being able to take those takes you up to a lofty initiative 3. I'm sure that'll matter. Fighting extra ranks is quite nice. I do like that. Okay, cool. I don't think there's much to say here. It's basically just warriors with spears. That's the only sort of benefit.
Yeah.
Cool. Scout Gyrocopter. This is -1 toughness and -1 wound as well. Is that correct from the basic Gyrocopter?
Yes, but that's a trade-off for what you can do with it, though. So, and it's a core tax as well. So if you're going to be running, I think they're really good, but could be really bad at the same time.
Yeah. So here's the first thing that I noticed about it. It costs 60 points, which is the same as a normal Gyrocopter. You lose some things, you gain a little bit of movement, but you get the clatter gun. Normally it's 70 points for a clatter gun on a Gyrocopter. So I really like that because you get the mobile shooting platform for 10 points cheaper. The rules on this, you've got fire and flee, fly 10, so 2 inches faster than a regular gyrocopter. Hatred, obviously, hit and run, so being able to, if you win combat, fall back in good order instead of pursuing. Impact hits D3, same as normal. Magic resist, skirmishes alongside extend formation for a 3-inch skirmish formation, swift stride, and vanguard. So there's a lot of stuff that's very similar there to a normal gyrocopter. It's basically just a bit lighter, a bit faster. And what's the other thing on there? It only has heavy armor. Am I right in thinking gyrocopters have full plate as well? That's the...
Yeah. So gyrocopters do. They've got a 4-up save. This does have fly 10 as well, though. So it is speedy. So I like them. I don't know if you take more than a couple of units just to be annoying. I think these you're going to either keep back to protect your like your war machines and your lines and just kind of like just try and redirect, or are they going to just belt across the board and just kind of block units so that then you can shoot at them more turns? I'm not sure what the use for these is going to be. I think they could be really interesting, and I'm pretty sure that you could probably make a really annoying list to play against with these, I reckon.
I think the spot that these fill for me is the spot that eagles fill for elves, because they can move 30 inches turn 1. They vanguard 10, and then they march 20 inches. And that means that you're going to be able to risk, threaten a turn 2 charge into your enemy's war machines. I quite like that. Whereas a normal gyrocopter, you're only moving 24 inches. It's hard to get behind your opponent's lines with that. So I think I like these. I think, like you say, a couple of small units of these. I'd take 2 units of 1. Is that where you're sort of thinking? And just use them as redirectors?
I don't know. I think 1 unit of 2 could be quite handy, I think. I think that would really make people worry about it.
Okay, interesting. Unfortunately, they are skirmish instead of open or closed order, so you can't do the better shenanigans where, you can turn your models at an angle to redirect. But you can still do some shenanigans, and you can obviously fire and flee as well. So, that's fine. Also, I like that they've got down at the bottom, here's how you convert them. That feels very sort of old school Games Workshop. It's like, here's how we converted a tank out of a deodorant bottle. Not quite to those levels, but here's the non-official way to make some models. Then we've got the dwarf carts, and there are 2 of these, and they both cost 65 points. So, do you want to talk about, which of the 2 do you want to talk about? And I'll talk about that.
So I'll talk about the Bugman's Cut. So
Perfect.
I've recently made my own version of this as well. Oh, it's so good. So what's the biggest issue that dwarves have got right? It's movement.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. It's movement. Don't say anything else. It
was going to be movement.
Right. So movement 3. So what do they need? They need an extra move. Brilliant. Right. Drinking some Bugmans gets you going a bit quicker. So you pick a unit and you give it +1 move, which if you're marching is going to give you +2 move over the march, or if you're marching columns, going to give you +3 move over the 3 marches. Brilliant. So good. Yeah. I love it. For 65 points, auto include any list ever.
Every time we've been talking, you just get this look in your eye and you're like, I'm going to go in marching column. I'm going to go 24 inches. which I think we'll get to with your list. So maybe we don't need to say much more against that one. I will quickly talk about the Miner's Cart. I actually really like this. I think this is so genuinely good. And I think... because you can take them in any army. They take up rare points, but they're only 65 points. I'm going to fit one of these into a dwarf army. So, the Miner's Cart. Any dwarf unit within 3 inches that is not fleeing or engaged in combat may stand and shoot, and or make a shooting attack as if equipped with blasting charges. This is a 6-inch range weapon. Strength 3, AP 1 quick shot. I don't know if it has any other rules on there, but that's basically what it does. And then it risks exploding when it dies. That's funny, but I don't care too much. Here's the thing. You can take combat dwarves that aren't going to make it into combat, and then you can give them a ranged attack. You can legitimately go, I get to stand and shoot. I've killed a model or 2. Here's some combat res. Dwarf combats, I've found, are so down to the wire. Like, you win by 1, you lose by 1. I'm so glad I took a musician. This, I think, means you can run a full combat front line, but have actual sort of additional combat res. You're getting charged. Like, you're going to get charged. So being able to do that is, I think...
I think anything that's going to give you the extra combat res is absolutely brilliant. I'd say the only thing is being strength 3, it's not going to do anything against, like, dragons.
No. Neither's your entire army, mate. So Don't
Well,
worry about it.
not anymore, mate. We've got answers now.
That is fair. That is fair. But yeah, I'm genuinely excited about the minus cart. I know the Bugman's cart is the one that, on the face of it, seems more obviously good, but I think minus cart's sleeper OP, and I want to.
Yeah, minus cut's really good. As well, if you're playing in the Expeditionary Force, you've obviously got those big lines of Quarrelers, big lines of Thunderers. Like I can see people taking even lines of 20, to be perfectly honest, and then having your the War Machine sticking out the little gaps in between the units.
Yeah.
And then you've got a cart behind those units. So if stuff comes really close to you that suddenly you don't have a quick shot weapon for, now you do. You can Overwatch.
That's a really good point, actually. So you can turn Quarrelers into budget rangers without having to spend points for throwing axes, etc.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the best use for this, actually, because I can see people doing huge lines across the entire board just of Quarrelers with those in, I think that'd be good.
It's like some certain content creators cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
Moving on. 1,000 content creators.
Not Linehammer! Here's something I'm super excited for. And you were like, I don't think this is that good, or this is not as good as I wanted it to be. I love it. I want to marry it. I want 16 of them. We're going to have little goblin-hewer babies. Don't judge.
I just want to see it with strength 5, man.
I don't even care. I just want to throw so many axes. So it's basically an organ gun, but different. So 120 points, same points as an organ gun. Ballistic skill 3, same terrible ballistic skill as an organ gun. Where are the differences? First of all, you can take engineering runes. That's awesome. Big fan of that. 36-inch range, strength 4, so less one strength less. AP 1, only armor bane 1 instead of armor bane 2. That's fine. I can deal with that. Cumbersome, move a shoot, and Whirling Doom. So you can't standard shoot, you can't move it. And then Whirling Doom is how many shots do I get? So you still roll to hit with these, but with 36-inch range, it's not uncommon that you're going to be in half range. The way that it works, you roll 1 artillery die before making any rolls to hit. If you roll a misfire, sucks to be you. You roll on the misfire table, which is... Does it say what it is? It says the appropriate misfire table.
I think it's under Stone Thrower.
Perfect. I'm glad that was clarified on the page in front of us. To be fair, I think they're all basically the same, so it doesn't matter too much. But number of shots on the artillery die. So if you roll a 4, you get 4 shots. And then you get an additional D3 shots if you're shooting into the front or back of a unit, depending on how many ranks. So if it's, a squad of cavalry, you get 1 D3 extra shots. If it's a squad of Skaven that's 5 ranks wide, you get 5 D3 extra shots. Big fan of that. And if you're in the file, you get an additional D3 for each file. Basically, it's a bolt thrower in terms of how many models it hits. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I rate it. Like, it is a decent amount of shots. Like, if you could be really clever with your positioning, so if you could get one of these, or even 2 for 240 points for 2 is not bad. 1 in each corner. So you've got your battlefield's here. You got 1 on each corner. Everyone's coming towards you, and you're shooting down the flanks of units. It could worry some people, to be fair. Like, that's quite a lot of strength 4 AP1. Obviously, you are hitting on 5s, which is the downside of that, I suppose. But
well, 4s if they're close range. If they start running at you.
This is true.
I just want to live my dream of putting 2 organ guns and 2 goblin-hewers on the top of a hill. If like, if you're coming to me, you're going to pay in blood.
Living life dangerously.
Then I lose the game, yeah. Perfect. So the way this works is you can take 0 to 1 goblin-hewers per 1,000 points as a rare choice if you're in the Grand Army and you have 1 or more Slayers of Legend. I don't think you can take it in either of the other 2 detachments without taking Mercenaries, which is a little bit sad. But
yeah, I really like them, actually, to be fair. I will be running 1 or 2 sometimes. I think they're really fun. Are they crazy? No, but they're dwarves and they're awesome. And who doesn't love the goblin-hewer? Although I would say that they are absolutely amazing at killing goblins. Weirdly.
Perfect. Yeah, it's almost like they were designed for it.
I know.
And now we're going to be seeing... We are actually going to see an increase in the unit size of goblins because you have to run at least 30 to put your fanatics in. So, yeah.
Which is interesting because the entire Expeditionary Force seems like it's catered around fighting goblin armies, which is...
Weird,
crazy.
that, eh?
Weird.
Then we've got runic tattoos. So, some characters may purchase runic tattoos. Am I right in thinking it's just Slayers? I think I'm right in thinking it's just Slayers.
Can you imagine if it wasn't?
Oh, there it says right there in front of me. Doomseekers, Demon Slayers, Dragon Slayers. Cool.
I think the Doom Seekers is the most interesting one
I agree.
for me, I think.
Yeah. Because they're the little fanatic-like models.
But there is one that I really, really like. Have you read the Rune of the Dishonored yet?
You mean the first one?
Yeah, the first one.
Weirdly, I have, but tell us anyway.
That's crazy. So basically, he becomes a kind of... So you can put that on Demon Slayers or Dragon Slayers.
Yeah.
So you can turn your really expensive Slayer hero into a pseudo Doomseeker, and if he dies, your opponent doesn't get victory points for him.
I really like that.
I really rate that. Can you imagine that? Oh, you killed my general.
Yeah, you can be pushing like 500 points of not getting any victory points. Yeah. Oh, you say, yeah, so can you make a Demon Slayer your general? And then would they not get the general additional victory points for killing it?
Ooh.
Don't quote us on that one.
Yeah, don't quote. Yeah,
Tell us in the comments.
Yeah. I mean, I would say you'd 100% get the 100 points, but you're never going to have it because if you're taking Slayers, you're always going to take Ungrim, aren't you?
That's fair. All right.
But,
so, yeah.
Wait, we won't break the internet today. It's fine.
Well,
I do
very quickly. Sorry, Doomseekers. They can take 3. Demon Slayers can take 2. Dragon Slayers can take 1. That's wild. The sort of throwaway characters that like you don't even take in the character slot. They're just single models that you take. Is it special you take them in, I think, or it might be characters. I'm forgetting how they work with Ungrim. But the thing that's lowest down the totem pole, the suicidal ones, they get to have 3 sets of tattoos. I think that's very funny.
Can you put the same tattoo on? Do they have to be like? Is it like runes?
It's like runes. So you can't have the same on the same model, and you can't have the same combination. But you could have, for example, toughness 5.
And Dishonored.
6. Yeah.
So I like that.
There's no point cap.
So you could take 3 Doomseekers, then you could take 2 Demon Slayers, 2 Dragon Slayers, give them all the Rune of Dishonored with various other runes.
Only 1 Dragon Slayer because it can only take a single rune. But yes, you can get over 1,000 points by doing that. That's so funny.
That's amazing. I really like that.
Let's get writing it. Let's whiz through the rest of them. We've got the Rune of Endless Battle. During the combat phase of any turn in which the model with this runic tattoo charge, sound, every attack it makes that causes an unsaved wound, allow it to immediately make 1 additional attack. This doesn't include impact hits. If it did, it would be wild. I would take it on the Doomseeker. As it is, I'm not paying 40 points for this. Get out of here. What are you talking about?
Get out of town.
Get out of town. We got Rune of the Reckless, 35 points. This is a model with this rune gains Frenzy and gets +1 to hit rolls to hit. However, enemies get +1 to hit against it as well. I quite like this in combination with Rune of the Dishonored. I'm going to hit you harder. You're going to kill me. Sucks to suck. We've got Rune of the Hateful, which gains hatred all enemies. I actually genuinely quite like this. 30 points for just flat rerolls. Sure.
Yeah, good. I like it. I mean, because if you don't kill what you're fighting in the first round, you're dead. So,
yeah. Speaking of not dying immediately, Rune of Grit, +1 to your toughness. I quite like this for having just a stupid, dense character with Unbreakable holding up an entire unit of Skeleton Warriors because they're wounding on 6s. You're like, I survived for just until your combat phase, but that's long enough. Rune of the Dauntless, 15 points. A model with this tattoo must always issue and accept challenges if possible, but you can reroll any failed to hit rolls. So this is the same as the Rune of the Hateful, but you're tooled up to deal with characters. I like that. At 20 points less, you're probably deciding if you want to fight characters or units anyway. So yeah, I think this is better.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, realistically, you're probably going to want a challenge so you can 100% hit what you want to hit as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. I agree. Rune of Wrath, 15 points, +1 attacks. Great. Stacks with the weapon runes you can get more attacks with. This does get a little bit silly. I guess you could get up to technically +4 attacks if you wanted to.
Yeah, so 3 runes of fury. Take that. Oh, yeah. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, that's interesting to play around with. There'll be some interesting break points where you go, actually, I want to put some extra strength or AP on instead, but maybe want to play around with. Warrior's Rune, +1 weapon skill. Yeah, it's 10 points. You know what this is good with? Rune of Dishonored.
Yeah. Do you know what's even better? Rune of
Is it?
Blazing Fury.
Yeah. Is that because it's 5 points cheaper?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this gives you flaming attacks. As someone who's been playing a lot of Troll Horde, flaming attacks ruin my day, but mostly flaming attacks are a downside in the current meta we've got. So, but it's 5 points. So if you want to get a combo going, if you want to take that extra Rune of Dishonored, this is an option to do so there. All right, then we've got the Engineer's Weapon Runes, and I'm genuinely I think this kind of just makes dwarves 15% better because you can take characters that stand at the back to buff and actually do something as well. So the first one, there are two in here that I really like, but the first one is the Master Rune of Slaying. So you can only take one of these per army, and it is 50 points. When making a roll to wound against an enemy whose troop type is Behemoth, you always roll wound on a roll of a 3+, and it's multiple wounds D3. This is a Trollhammer Torpedo Light on a character with Ballistic Skill 5 that you're taking anyway to buff up your Grudge Throwers or similar.
Yeah, I really like that one, to be perfectly honest. It's just nice to have another little kind of tool that they're going to have to be scared of.
Sure.
So if you've got like a couple of like min units of Iron Drake stood next to that guy, then suddenly they're like, ooh, I don't want to come on that side of the board.
Then we've got the Master Rune of Piercing, 40 points, +1/+2 strength of that weapon, and it gets through and through like a bolt thrower. So this means you've got a strength 5, AP1.
Love it.
handgun.
Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. It's brilliant. It's so good. Obviously, you can fire that on stand and shoot as well.
Yeah, that's so much combat res. Oh, my 5 deep unit charged you. Yes, you're only wounding me on 6s with the last one, but by God, I'll give it a go. That's fun. I like that. Master Rune of Bursting Flame, 35 points. If you hit successfully, you do 2d3 hits. This is my favorite.
Yeah,
I
it's
really
really
like
good.
it. Yeah, because you know what I think dwarves struggle with? MSU. So if your opponent's running lots of little 5 model units, if you hit, you're suddenly getting on average 4 hits. That's enough to really threaten some panic, and if they're below, a low enough threshold, just running forever.
Well, obviously, you can combine these.
You can indeed.
So you've got your strength 5 through and through that explodes into D3.
You can't put 2 master runes.
Oh,
No.
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I missed the master.
Yeah, I did as well, I'll be honest. When I wrote my list, I've put 2 runes of the Bursting Flame in, so we both did the same thing. We've also got the Rune of Concussive Force. If you hit a unit, it gains stupidity until the next start of the subphase. Don't pay for this, but...
So normally, I would say that's really bad. It's a terrible idea. That's rubbish. But I've watched several of the games that you've played in the S-Bot where you've just been stood in front of an army because you failed your stupidity for like every turn. And actually, that could be quite good.
All right, give it a go. Report back. I think you don't take it because it's if you're making like 5 stupidity tests every turn, you fail one of them. If you're making 1 stupidity test, if you manage to hit, I don't love it as much, but play around with it. Maybe it's good. Rune of Accuracy, no modifiers to hit. I really like this, and I would stack this with the Master Rune of Bursting Flame. If you could, you're capped at 50 points in an engineer, but if you could do it, it'd be great.
They don't want you to have fun. I mean, you can put these on other heroes. So if you wanted to maybe like a gunner Thane, could be quite good.
Yeah, with their ballistic skill 4.
Yeah. So a gunner Thane. Are you locked? You're not locked into any of the different armies, so you can take these in a royal clan, can't you?
Yeah, these are just any.
And then
it's not even engineers only, like you say. It's for any.
Yeah, it's on all of them. Which then means the royal clan, you could take a gun king, for instance, because you can take.
Let me stop you there. Also, ballistic skill 4.
Yeah, I know. But with the royal clans, you can take an extra 25 points of upgrades, so you could get pretty silly on this, really, if you wanted to.
You absolutely are silly. Yes, I will give you that. We're going to move on quickly. We've got the Rune of Rapid Fire. I love this. A weapon inscribed with this regains the multiple shots 2 and quick shot special rule. You're going to take this with the Master Rune of Bursting Flame.
No, you're not. You're going to put that with the Master Rune of Piercing for a quick shot version of the Strength 5 through and through.
55 points. Doesn't quite fit on an engineer because they're capped at 50 points a match.
You put it on your. Put it on your.
I'm putting on a Thane.
Got cool. BSB.
More seriously, I genuinely really like this with the Master Rune of Bursting Flame. You've got 2 chances to hit. You're going to be at -1 to hit because of multiple shots, but it's just Solid. Rune of Molten Steel, flaming attacks. Cool, that's fine. I don't want it, but sure. And then the Enchanted Rune, 5 points to give you magical attacks. Obviously, having any rune on there gives you magical attacks. This is just a cheap way to duplicate something in an army. That's all it comes down to. Yeah. Any thoughts on those before we go over to the armies that we've put together?
I think they're really good. I really rate all of these. And I think you can do some really sneaky combos. Like, I do think that people are not going to expect I know you keep saying, obviously, you want them on the engineer, which is a really good shout to have your kind of gunner engineers on the back line with the cannons. But I think if you put some of these on a combat hero, people are not going to expect to get tooted by something that's going to like shoot them on the way in.
I love the concept of taking just a bad melee character so you can take 2 stand and shoot crossbow shots that you're going to miss both of them with because you'll be hitting on 5s.
Yes.
Perfect.
I like those odds.
Yeah. The risk I took was calculated, but man, am I bad at maths. So we're going to move on quickly to the lists. That is the end of that one there. Let me just move over to... Perfect. We have got the Dwarf Expeditionary Force. This is the list that I've put together. These are very early days. We've both only had the rules for a short amount of time. So this is probably not what you're going to see, but this is like the logical extreme I came to when I was writing a gunline. I cheated a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. I did cheat because I've put 2 goblin-hewers in here. These are mercenaries. I just wanted them in. You could replace them with organ guns or another piece of artillery. It's fine. It doesn't actually matter, but I just wanted to put them in my list. So I've got an engineer, handgun, expeditionary marksman, so you don't take the move and shoot penalty, master rune of bursting flame, and the rune of rapid fire. So you're doing 2 of your 2d3 exploding shots when they hit. Great stuff there. Engineer, handgun, master rune of bursting flame. Pretend that doesn't say that. Pretend that it instead says the master rune of piercing, because I think a master rune of piercing is quite good there. Then we've got an engineer with a handgun and the master rune of slaying. I think you want one of these. It gives you an extra sort of deal with dragon's threat. It's not realistically going to do that much, but the threat of it means your opponent might play differently, and you just kind of need to throw enough multiple damage at it to chip it down. Core, I've gone for 2 units of 14 rangers, full command, crossbows, throwing axes, great weapon, shields. You can take 2 of them. I'm going to take 2 of them. And then 2 units of 5 thunderers. These have expeditionary marksmen. It's 5 points for the upgrade. It means that if you move them, you're going to be hitting on 5s at close range. I think these are fine little, redirectors, move blockers. Honestly, I could see you were talking about maybe going full MSU. I could see you going up to 6 units of these and feeling very good about your choices there.
Yeah.
Into the special, we've got a unit of 11 gyrocopters. No, a unit of 11 miners. I can read good. The upgrades, I've gone for the Prospector, the Steam Drill, and Veteran as well. Obviously, you want to have at least 1 miner unit. I think I want to go 3, but this is sort of like a full gunline list that I was trying to put together. A single gyrocopter. I'd like to have 2, but where do you find the points? Probably cutting those goblin-hewers that you can't legally take in match play events. 3 grudge throwers. 1 for rune of reloading, 1 for rune of forging, and 1 for rune of reloading and stalwart rune. I really value having magical attacks on all of your stuff, especially artillery, like a grudge thrower that might scatter onto, something that doesn't want to be hit by magical attacks. Bolt thrower with rune of skewering. I like this mostly for dealing with dragons. You're winning on 3s, they don't get an armor save. Solid there. 2 goblin-hewers, stalwart rune of burning. Just to quickly explain what those do, stalwart rune is +1 combat res, rune of burning is flaming attacks, so they're just there because I want them to have magical attacks more than anything else. And then 2 organ guns, because this list is rolling just like loads of artillery dice and saying this is maximum shots. So this is logical extreme, and I think if I'm actually playing this list, I definitely tone it down, make some different choices. Don't run the goblin-hewers and run something that you can run at tournaments. But what are your initial thoughts on seeing this?
So I do like it. I think you've definitely gone down the extreme for the kind of, well, it's not even so much of a gun line, really. It's kind of like a stand back, spray and pray. Are you dizzy?
8 war machines. It's not a gun line. It's only got...
Yeah, 2 of them aren't legal, though.
You can replace them with legal ones. You could take them. So it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Although saying that, my doubles list for this weekend, I think we've got about the same amount of war machines, and I don't think that's a good line either, to be fair.
You're objectively wrong, but we'll move on before we get into any arguments.
No, I do really like it. I think people are going to be really torn with what they want to do, whether they want to sit back and shoot or they're going to throw miners at people. I don't know. I don't know which way it's going to go. I think it's going to really like tear people in different ways. I think both are going to be quite good. I think both are going to be really fun. And whether you try and create staggered lines of units that are going to be entrenched with entrenched war machines by them as well, and then like popping your miners up. So I think a good tactic you could use in this list is that you've got your units in kind of staggered lines, and then you've got your war machines behind, and then you've put your markers for the miners so that when stuff charges into your line, you can pop the miners up and charge into the rear. I think that could be quite a good one, I think.
Yeah, I think so. The more we've talked about it, the more I want to go 3 units of miners and take that as the sort of like backbone of the list. But yeah, I really like Expeditionary Force. It's one that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, no, I'd be interested to see if this is the one that people kind of gravitate to that does better. I do think the loss of Iron Drakes is gonna scare people. I think because that has been a kind of a crux that we've all kind of lent on. I think. But they've got some really good alternatives to that. So be interesting to see.
Perfect. All right, and we'll go into your list. This is the Royal Host, and it's Richy's Death Star. Give us a run through it.
Right. So I just wanted to make kind of a bit of a meme list, to be perfectly honest. And a couple of things that the Royal Host does is that you can take extra points on your heroes. So I just kind of wanted to basically max out of the upgrade points on the heroes. And my idea was, so take a king, take a thane, take a runesmith, and then I'm going to have an anvil with that as well. And then so the 3 heroes are all going to be in the 1 unit of the Royal Clansmen, because I really want to try the Royal Clansmen and see what they're like. And basically, so the Royal Clansmen, I just going to try and slingshot them up the board. Right, I'll just quickly run you through what's in there. So we've got the king. So he's just going to be fully upgraded on shield bearers. So he's going to have the Rune of Smiting, the Rune of Gromril, and the Rune of Fury, which you can now do in the Royal Clans, which you couldn't do before. So suddenly now you've got a dwarf hero that's got 5 attacks. Each of those attacks is D6 damage at AP2 or AP3 on a 6, unless the runesmith's in there. Then suddenly it's going to be AP5, which is brilliant. And then he's also got a 2-up save, rerolling 1s, and he's also going to have a 5-up ward because of this next guy, which is going to be the Thane on shield bearers. So he's going to be the BSB. So he's going to have the Master Rune of Gromril, Master Rune of Grugny, sorry, and the Rune of Battle on there. Also going to have the Rune of Preservation and the Rune of Gromril. So he's going to be a 2-up save, rerolling 1s, and he's going to be immune to mortal wounds and killing blow. So he's going to be there to basically tank challenges or like try and challenge out dragons, stuff like that. And then if you don't want to do that, then you get the king swinging in and trying to kill the dragon. So it kind of gives you a bit of a choice in the unit what you want to do. If something's coming at you really hard and you think you're not going to be able to take it, challenge out with the BSB, because that guy can usually kind of tank it with the 6 wounds, which is good. And then there's going to be a little runesmith in there with the Rune of Spellbreaking. So what the runesmith's going to do is give you flaming attacks on the unit, which sometimes is good, sometimes is rubbish, but it is what it is. But it's also giving everyone an extra 2 AP on a 6, which is very good, considering the Clansmen are going to be AP3 already. So suddenly they're going to be Pen 5, which is pretty nuts, actually. And there's going to be a Rune of Spellbreaking on that runesmith, because you don't want anyone to cast pesky illusion magic at you when you're running at their face.
I wonder if it'd be better to go hand, weapon, shield here on the basis of you've got so many characters in the frontage. Are you going to get many attacks?
Well, it depends how wide you want to go. I mean, so
wide.
9, so 9 wide is as far as you can go to be able to get into the marching column. So you want to go 9. I don't know. I haven't actually played with these. I just really like the idea of the AP3 axis. But to be fair, considering with the characters in there, you're probably right, and it probably is good turning them into like a pseudo like core tax Ironbreakers unit. Probably.
Yeah.
So we get onto them. So basically, I've given them the Gromril Great Axe, which could be the good way to go. I don't know yet. We need to get some games in. Everybody can let me know what they think. I really rate them, but losing the hand, weapon, and shield is a bit rough, I think. So these guys are fully upgraded. So full command. They got veteran, they got drilled, and the best one for me is you can upgrade them to have stubborn, which is so good because this is also going to play into the new kind of Royal Clans tactic, which is when you charge into the unit. So you're sending in, I don't know, like this massive unit of Dragon Ogres into me. So they come crashing in. I pop my stubborn, I fall back, and then it's going to be my turn next. So if you haven't made it to me, or if you haven't decided to go, I then charge into you and get the +1 strength in. So suddenly I'm going to be strength 6 on the charge, which I think is quite good. So the 12 Quarrelers, so they're basically just kind of there for just a bit of an extra kind of a ranged threat. Don't know if they'll make it into the final cut of the list at all. Just wanted to just have a little bit of range projection in there that wasn't a war machine. And just something for people to kind of shoot at, really, and to kind of screen off areas. That's about it. So the Iron Drakes are there. Like I love Iron Drakes, absolutely amazing. So they've got the Trollhammer Torpedo and the Cinder Blast. There's 10 of them. So they are, depending on what I want to play against, so they're either going to be a screen for my warriors if I'm going to get charged too hard, or they're going to be defending the war machines. Speaking of war machines, we've got 2 Grudge Throwers. One of them is going to have the Rune of Forging, so he gets the rerolls, because in the Royal Clans list, you don't get the Engineers, which is a little bit annoying. But I was also a little bit sparse for points because I've spent absolutely loads on heroes. So then I've got 2 Bolt Throwers, which are just no runes on. So they're going to be there trying to plink at the monsters, just get a bit of wounds off. And then we've got the Bugman Cart. So my thinking behind the Bugman's Cart is, and I'm super, super excited about this, is you're basically going to be trying to slingshot your unit forward. And with the extra move, so you take the Stroller's rune. So I've taken the Stroller's rune on the Clansmen. So basically they get a Vanguard move at the beginning. So they move up 3. And then I pick them with the Bugman's Cart. Suddenly they're move 4. They go into marching column. So they move up, trundle up the board an extra 12. So suddenly you've gone 15 inches. And then when the anvil goes, cracks, hopefully it goes off. Then you can move an extra a few inches forward, and suddenly you are right outside the deployment zone, an inch away from the enemy unit, so they can't do anything but charge you, which is exactly where you want them to be.
That's really interesting. You know what the only problem with that is?
You didn't put the anvil in.
Or you didn't write the anvil down. Or maybe
Did I not?
It's all right. So let's just assume there's an anvil in this list as well.
So there is actually an anvil in that list, guys.
I was looking, I was like, you've been talking about double moving with the anvil for so long. Like, where's it? Oh, okay. It's just not there. Cool. Perfect. So maybe double moving that unit. That makes a whole lot more sense. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I love it. I do like the idea of putting a Death Star 1 inch away from your opponent and just going, you going to deal with me or what?
Well, yeah, they're going to have to.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Move sideways? I'm going to charge you then. Sucks to be you. Yeah. I like it. It's a lot of fun. Well, thank you for watching. Do let us know what you think of the lists. They're not going to be the most cutthroat. They're very much sort of like taking a concept to a logical extreme. But let us know what you're going to be playing with. And I just want one last thing from you before we wrap up. On a scale of 1 to 5, how excited are you about this Arcane Journal? That's not a number, buddy.
Oh, at least 5. I don't know.
Okay, 5. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, there's a link to subscribe over here. I really appreciate the support I've received over the last few months, and I'm looking forward to improving the channel and bringing you more content as the months go on. Down below are all the links. There's the Element affiliate link, all of our links to Discord, the 40k sister channel, everything else that we're doing down below. And on this side, there's another video. You don't have to click it, but you could. You could click it.